Next, I would like to call Ms. Estelle Meyer, the Director of Africa Business Intelligence, South Africa.
I firstly want to apologize for my poor quality of voice. I'm a bit ill, but I'm pretty honored and privileged to be a recipient of this award. I'm greatly thankful to GCPIT, to Santosh and Aparna, who works non-stop to make this success. I'm grateful to the Almighty that has identified people from across the globe who's got the same dreams and visions and is bringing them all together. I'm also even grateful to the people that has harmed me and has damaged me along the way. Tried to stop my dreams because I said it was impossible, and today they see it is possible. That if you push hard enough and you believe in something hard enough, that it can be done. I'm grateful and I'm honored to be in the presence of amazing people that's been awarded by all of you. I think you are go-getters and you are trendsetters, and to be in your presence is truly humbling. I am a great.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you are joining us from. Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade, or GCPIT, is proud to welcome you to this special interview series in connection with the Global Emerging Leaders Awards 2022. I'm Aparna Kumar, the Global Co-Chairperson of GCPIT and your host for the show. Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade is an organization based in India, South Africa, US, UK, and UAE with board and council member representation across the world. We at GCPIT believe in fostering leadership across different levels. Recently, we have been reflecting on the significance of perspective in our role as leaders. When we advance from being an individual contributor to a leader, our perspective starts changing. We gain access to new information, have conversations with new people, and think about things in ways we didn't have to before. These changes or learnings have immense power, and we believe that this interview series will help us and many aspiring future leaders to gain new perspectives, especially global perspectives from these emerging leaders. Today, we have with us such a leader to tell us about her perspectives on leadership while leading her venture. We have with us Ms. Estelle Meyer, who is an attorney and legal consultant with more than 15 years of experience in company law, focusing on inter alia, corporate governance, duties and responsibilities of directors and shareholders, due diligence, commercial law, compliance, legal forensic investigation, risk assessment, PSC 1, ISO 18788 audit. She has expertise and specializes in promoting and facilitating investment in Africa, developing evolving businesses to network effectively, international standard compliance and corporate governance, guiding foreign investors, providing business intelligence for clients to explore markets, aligning businesses with human rights, and recruitment of TCNs for deployment in various countries. Estelle has worked in DRC, Uganda, South Africa, Mozambique, Congo, Brazzaville, Tanzania, Kenya, South Sudan, and India. She has consulted in various industries, which include mining, security industry, legal, financial, agricultural, cooperatives, etc. She was a recipient of a research fellowship from the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, University of London, and was one of the 100 women from around the world to meet female Nobel Peace Prize winners. Congratulations, Estelle, for being nominated for the Emerging Leaders Awards. We are proud to have you with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aparna. It's really a privilege to be nominated, and it's a privilege to have this discussion with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. But before we begin talking about leadership, though I read your profile, I would like to hear from you. How did this all begin? What is your background? What are you currently doing?
Well, I don't know. When I was little, I always thought when I grow up, I'm gonna change the world. The world is waiting for me. I'm gonna make the world a better place. I just need to grow up a bit. And then my thought process was, well, the only way to do it is law. and I loved law. I loved studying law. It was amazing. And through studying law, you become exposed to so many various things. And I started in corporate governance and company law, really, and combined with international law. But those two really captured my my interest. I lectured, and then I went into the commercial world, and then I found myself frustrated because it felt like I was pushing papers the whole time, and that the benefit you have when you are in the academic world of researching and developing, and it's not lost, but wasn't satisfying to me, and I have this fascination for Africa. I just love Africa, and I was thinking, I had this idea that Africa is going to explode. Investment is going to happen, and nobody's making preparations for it. So why don't I do it? One day I decided, well, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it ever. And I resigned without having a job. I just resigned and decided I'm going to start doing consulting. And I remember my first project was a request to, I did a few local consulting projects, and I did networking, and I got my first request to go and get a mining license in Mozambique. And short-sightedness, in the sense that Mozambique, they spoke Portuguese more than they spoke English. I did not even think about that at that stage. And I just had this passion to bring people to invest in Africa. And the lessons that I learned, there were so many things that I learned that I had to sort of keep on developing and learning every time where I went, every country that I went to. I had to learn something, because from that, strangely enough, it evolved. And from being in mining, other businesses evolved from that, which is in short. And so it evolved, and I was blessed to learn a lot of things and grow through that. But I think in my process of doing that, my love for the continent grew even more, and I became so much more involved in community projects. On every project that I was, it was just an automatic extension. And that's sort of where it brought me today. With the new, again, today we are at a totally new start. Things are really developing at such a pace, and we have to keep up. And the field are changing again, and I don't want people to stay behind. I want people to stay with us, and that keeps me busy. That keeps me busy.
Yes, I know we all at one point or the other, we dream of changing the world. And I know how passionate you are in developing Africa. So let me come to your leadership. If you had to pick 4 or 5 words or short phrases to describe how a successful leader in a global environment operates or behaves. I know that you have been traveling to a lot of countries before COVID. So can you just tell us a few short phrases about how a successful leader operates?
I always have a discussion with people and to ask them why they call politicians leaders. It's normally my first question. I talk about a politician. For me, a leader is someone that can follow, someone that can listen, it's someone that's humble, and it's someone that understands that you will always learn. That you will never be at a point where you know everything. I have learned more from people in rural areas, sitting with people that's never even been to school, that I've learned in all my years of studying. So for me, it's humbleness, it's being connected, it's listening, it's having a heartbeat and a pulse, and it might sound weird, a heartbeat and a pulse for what's going on with the people. If you don't love people, you cannot serve them, and if you can't serve them, you cannot lead them. And I think that's where in my opinion, where a lot of mistakes are being made, and that's why so many people are suffering, because we suffer from a narrative of, oh, I'm a leader, and suddenly because I'm a leader, I need to have a convoy and I need to have a special car and people need to stand up when I'm somewhere. No, no, that's not the best leaders I've seen are the people that you don't even see. Those are the people that makes the changes.
And how would you describe the differences in an organization and in the organization and culture between a global environment and a more local or regional environment?
That was an interesting one for me to consider, because I think it's so important today and not something we often sit and think about. But it does differ, we have to break it down. You have a global environment. You have a large corporation with its policies and its principles, but you cannot remove that. Again, you have to be very attentive to the country and the culture that you are working in. You can have, and that's something that I've learned, for example, is you can have a policy of you have women empowerment, for example, which is a big part. It's huge, but you can be in a culture where there's other things that you have to. I'm not saying do not empower women, but you cannot go in as an organization and suddenly throw over whatever's going on in the country. Is have patience and have empathy and have understanding for cultural differences, even within a country, between different regions. There can be a difference. I've worked in organizations where we would deliberately not appoint people from the same region because you want a diversity of culture, because there's too strong of a type of culture in one sector of the community. So you have to consider that there's a big difference. It's wonderful to have a global policy. International Labour Relations Organization, they've got wonderful policies. Human rights and business, they've got wonderful policies. I've dealt with some of those issues and I've seen they are there, but they're not effective on regional and on local ground. They're not. And I was told by some people that we can't assist you. And this is the reason why, because globally it differs from what happens specifically in a country. You still have to compete. You still have to, not to compete, but you still have to consider the political situation, even though we don't want to, but we still have to be, and we have to be respectful towards the culture. We have to be visitors. If it's a company from South Africa that invests wherever, it's still that country's culture. We have to make sure our policies align. So we can't have a policy and say, this is how we will run the world. Yes, it's wonderful, but it will not work.
And how is your organization's purpose evolving?
A lot. Where I was driven a lot when I started, just bringing business, and corporate governance was always there. And I since the beginning told people, we're not in 1985 or 76. We can't, and that was when I started. We're not in the bush. We need to have corporate governance. You can't have informal board meetings, miniature meetings. From that, where it was focused solely on investment, bringing that in, having the corporate governance, having the compliance, a totally new area has evolved. A totally new area have evolved of, wow, but what about business to business in Africa? What about, what about if we can do business, small enterprise, with a small enterprise somewhere else in the world? Let's make it possible. Let's not just only rely on monopolies. How can we make it possible? How can I help this small business? Because I've seen small businesses, because I spent long times in places, I can see, for example, women starting making dresses from a house with the machine that she works by with feet and a hand. And then slowly she has a little bit more dresses, and a little while longer, she's got a little shop. And I was thinking, but why can't we develop her? Her clothes is beautiful. Why support her? Why can't we get her? And why can the access that I have to information because of where I am, why can I not take that information, transfer it to them, help them, and see how we can get them to be able to do business on another level? That's not all. We know medium, small, and micro businesses is the lifeblood of the economy, but let's not all stay there, because we know also those are the people that suffered the most during lockdown. Let's develop them more. And I see that. I work with cooperatives. I'm sitting with cooperatives. I'm getting, we're sitting with the SDGs and seeing how we can let them comply, how I can explain it, how we can make a cooperative in something more than just a cooperative. Also a business center, also a training center, also a center where we can have board meetings, where there's a market every Saturday, people trade plants. There's so much you can do. And so my business has evolved in that, it's sort of, that makes me excited. The corporate governance, that also goes with that, but physically seeing these people growing, and this is not people that has funds from international organizations, it's communities coming together and say, hey, we want to make a difference. And that's how my business evolved from let's bring business to, but let's really make a change to people's lives. Let's do it a different way. And that for me is those the cooperatives which I'm helping to develop. And also one of the projects that I'm involved in is also a company that's developed biofeed for agriculture that is much more affordable than normal fertilizer, is safe, the yield is higher. It's a fantastic concept, designed, manufactured in Africa. There's no reason for a product like that not to be, exported to the world. So working with things like that, I've never thought I'll do that. I've always thought I would bring development, but that's how short-sighted I was. I thought I would bring investment to Africa, never thinking, let me take it out. And that's been a change, and that's wonderful.
I think that's an amazing thought you just shared. That helping people is something, especially post-pandemic, we all need to do. And I know that there are a lot of power issues and all this in South Africa. What about like digitalization? What do you think? How should companies approach digitalization when there is such a big issue about power cuts?
I have a love-hate relationship with digitalization. It is needed. It's so needed. But I fear that the push for it is going to create another divide in society, because the networks is not as strong across the world as it is necessarily. Let me use an example of Europe. There's many things to consider. Firstly, cell phones made it possible for many people to start small businesses, which would never have had the opportunity to do that, which is absolutely amazing, which I think is a benefit. Everything is being digitized. I've said the good thing from that is, yes, we have records, we can have backups if it's used properly. Firstly, people are trained. Secondly, if you have electricity to use that, that's also nice. But I've also been in many places where the networks were off. So we will always, in like big organizations, like government organizations, I cannot see that there will be a complete disregard of a paper base, and it sounds archaic, but I'm honest when I say to you that the paper-based backup still needs to be there. That's the one side. The other side is, it has shown that smartphones is pushed more and more and more, and it's the way to go. And it's also, research is also showing that women have far less access to smartphones than men due to the fact that they don't have money, both women. So you have the divide. Then there's also the fact that smartphones are maybe not expensive for many people, but when you are really in impoverished areas, it's expensive. A smartphone is very expensive and it's a luxury. And many few, really little people can afford it. So they cannot have use for it. They don't have a use for it. Not that they don't need it, not that it will make their life better, but they can't. So what do we do? Do we now exclude them because they don't have it? I would say digitization is wonderful. Tread carefully, tread slowly. Again, you know what? The policies are there. But see what's happening on the ground. How does the rollout physically work? How do you physically, slowly let people get the benefit from this? Because that's what we want. But then I also want to warn against the overuse of digitalization, where we become so open and all our information is so open, and not all governments in the world are nice governments. It is very easy for a government to switch off the internet. It is very easy. What do you do then? I lived in a place where the government switched off the internet for 2 weeks. What do you do? There's nothing you can do. At that, I'm not going to say where, but the place I was, there was a lot of, most payments were made digitally. There weren't a lot of cash moving. People could not buy things unless you had something to barter with. You were stuck. So yes, digitalization, fantastic, and people talk about it, and they talk about all the benefits, all the wonderful things, which is not wrong, but tread carefully and think of how do we do it inclusively. Don't forget the word inclusive. Don't forget the word, I'm still an individual. I still have a right to my privacy. Government cannot control me. I still have my right to freedom. It's a balance that needs to be used. What I do love about it, I can work on documents with people that have access across the world. I can have meetings on Zoom. I can sit in conferences in Geneva. There's so many benefits, but there's also so many drawbacks if we don't manage it carefully.
Yes, what you shared is really scary and really thought-provoking. As you said, we need to be inclusive, and since the world is moving very fast, and I think we need to slow down a little bit, and we all talk about leaving no one behind. So this is something I think we should think about when we talk about digitalization. And what was the most challenging difference in leadership or culture that you had to understand and overcome in a globalized economy?
For me, really, what was very difficult is because I'm quite a strong woman. Well, I was thought I was a strong woman, and I find it very difficult in the beginning in cultures where there was a big difference between men and women. I found that very difficult to work in and to operate in. There, I also had to learn that I had to respect the culture. I could not force my view on things that I saw that I did not necessarily agree with. There's ways to deal with things. It's not my place to stand on a soapbox and scream because I'm not happy about something that's happening in a country if I'm not involved in it. But that was difficult for me. I also found it difficult because I was working in environments where it was very male dominated, and women was seen as a weaker person or not necessarily at the same level as a man. And then I would be in a position where they would have to report to me. I found that difficult. But what I did and what I then did is I took it slowly, and I would treat them with respect. I would let them see who I am, and that I'm not there to tell them what to do, but I'm there to respect them. And that, I help I helped them where I could. If they had to report to me, I would never chastise them in front of people. I would talk to them, take them to the side. There were certain things that I had to deal with that normally when it's men dealing with men, it's easier, you know, making allowances, bringing a man in to discuss certain things that was not my place to discuss. So it was tough, but today I'm okay with it. I found that, and then, you know, that was a different, very difficult cultural shock for me. And then I have to be honest with you, poverty as well, because I thought I saw poverty, but I have not seen poverty until I saw poverty. And I know I call it a cultural difference, but it's a world difference. And that was also difficult for me. And that is still difficult for me. How do I deal with it? I don't cry anymore every time I see it. Someone told me once, you know what, you go and you rain a little bit where you can, and you shine a little bit where you can. And I try to do that. And I've also learned that, well, because in the beginning I thought, oh, you know, I can't stand this. And then I realized, but the people are still smiling. And I was thinking, but how is it possible? And I realized that joy is not measured by the amount of money you have in your bank account. You know, so the cultural differences, there's good cultural differences, then there was tough cultural differences. Some of them benefited me, all of them benefited me. I will not say I agree with all of them, but I respect them. When it comes to, I don't see a human rights abuse as a cultural difference. And I deal with that in my way that I deal with that. That's a difference. And there's a lot of human rights abuses. That's not a cultural difference. That's just the abuse of a human being.
With all these global experiences, what different perspectives do you bring to the business as a leader?
You know, the capacity to have patience to walk in someone else's shoes, not to walk into a place and think, but because I'm from here or I have this, I know everything. I go into an organization or a country, and before I go in, I go and study. I go and study as much as I can about the country. I go and study as much as I can about the country. I read a lot. And then I go in with what I know, but firstly to learn. Because I first need to learn how you do it, because sometimes the way that you do it is better than the way that I do it. And that is what I bring to it. And then I sit and we combine what you have and what I have. And we see if we can bring that together to make it a difference. I'm very adamant when I work with organizations that if you work with me, we get involved in the community. Or I'm not interested to work with people that doesn't get involved in the communities. I make a plan to get involved in the community. It's important for me. I also, when I get into any organization, is to find talent. You know, sometimes when you go into a place and you are new, you can see things that other people can't see, and you can discuss someone that you see, but that person is maybe frustrated in that position, but they've got talent for something else. And it can be someone that they're frustrated with, and maybe they want to fire them, or they're just sitting there. Maybe just move them around. It's just having respect for that person's view. Sometimes the business model that you go in with comes out a little bit different than the other side, but it works. So it's finding out what works, but it's learning first, and not being a Miss Know-it-all like I was when I was 16.
And what advice would you give to someone who has taken a senior leadership role to be more impactful in the role they have taken up?
Never forget who brought you there and how you got there. Never do. It's not by, you know what, there's people whose shoulders that you are standing on that brought you where you are today. And never forget that. Always remain humble. Always remain willing to learn. don't be afraid to ask. You're not expected to know everything. Ask, go, keep on learning, keep on training, but then also go and find the next leader. You know, someone said to me once, work yourself out of a position. Go and find the next person that you can, or people that you can put, that you can transfer your skills to, that you can do, that you can help. You're not suddenly someone else because today you're sitting in another office and yesterday you shared an office with someone. You're the same person, you're just doing something different maybe. You know, so just remember that and stay that person. Maybe become more humble. If you weren't, it's just see how you can serve the people.
That's an amazing thought. And are there any training or resources such as coaching or mentorship to help you be better? Or is it just a lot of practice?
No, for me, it's all of it. It's really all of it. I thought a lot about that. I still go on courses. A course can only do the theory, you know. Mentorship is important because there's always someone that's a bit older than you, or a bit more, or even younger, but's got more experience than you that can mentor you in a role. But that practical experience combined with the knowledge, all of them work together. You know, it's if I go and sit with someone, a farmer, small-scale farmer somewhere, he was taught by someone and then he practiced it. So you can never exclude them. They all work together. They're all part of the pillars of making a success. If one is not there, it's going to fail. You're going to stay behind. Especially today, you know, we think we study, and now we're there. We're not there. I think the studying then only begins, you know. So it's definitely all of them: mentoring, coaching, practical, and then keep on practicing.
And what about the broader leadership team? Are these resources available to them? How do we make this available to the leadership team within the ecosystem?
Just repeat that question. Sorry, he was speaking a bit fast.
Are these resources available? We all learn from our experiences and we all have our way of doing things. Are these resources available to the broader leadership team within the ecosystem itself?
They are available, but they're not utilized. They're not utilized. We work with people that like to work in silos. You know, that's a big problem. And if you work in a silo, unfortunately, you can only learn what you know. You're not going to learn anything else unless it's an ecosystem. That's how ecosystem evolve. That's how ecosystem work. There's always someone that if you can bring them in, you make your project better, you make your business better, you can move it around. It's there. People should just use it. People should just be, and then there should be people that's willing to share, because you also get people that's not willing to share. You know, and we should get to a point where we will say, okay, well, you don't want to share, fine, we'll find someone that will share. You don't want to learn, fine, we'll find someone that will learn, and we will get together and we will make it work. But it's definitely there. I've been involved in projects where we've pulled different resources from all over and one ecosystem, and it was amazing. You know, everybody's got their strength, and I can't do everything, you can't do everything, and then we all come together and it works fantastic. I was on a project where we worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 3 shifts. I had so many people, and it was all people that worked within their passion. And if they didn't, we were lucky enough to move them around. And I could see that, you know, I could see that how it works when you bring people with different experiences and different knowledge and different passions together. And you make that's wonderful. That's the amazing part, when it all works well and everybody, you know, you see your project succeed. So I believe it is. But if you can get rid of the silos, yeah.
And we all saw what the COVID-19 pandemic did to the businesses globally. What have you learned from leading in this crisis?
I learned a lot. I think the first thing I learned is that we're not as free as we think we are. I woke up one day and I heard I can't work. And I remember thinking, but I'm a free, I heard I can't go to the shop, I can't go to the work, and I can't do this. And I was thinking, but I'm a free person. I thought I had freedom. And that was my first shock in thinking, but I don't have the freedom that I thought. Then I realized, okay, nobody's going to need legal services. Your husband's not going to be able to work. What are you going to do? Your child can't go to school. It was tough. But I scratched, but I thought a lot about it. And I don't want to say, I can't say anything. I don't want to say it was good because it wasn't. I learned from it, yes. I learned how to work more with social media because I was forced to work with social media. I could expand my business because people were more comfortable now with having meetings on Zoom. Now it's easier for me to consult with my clients across the world because I can use Zoom. And they're not as, previously it would have been, no, you can't do it. I can attend conferences, which I could not necessarily attend because I couldn't fly there. Now I can because they made it accessible. I also learned that I need to study more. There's a lot of things that I didn't know. And that you need to be even more versatile. I learned that. And poor people got poorer, rich people, a lot of rich people got richer, and as I said, the middle class are hanging on by their nails at the moment. I learned that we can we need less than we think we do, but my business in a funny way grew because of my mindset that developed during that time, not because of me, it's because of how I was forced to do things to survive. And I just also realized, but life is short, do the things that you are really passionate about. Yeah, and I met you.
Right.
Which is wonderful. Yeah, so it changed it a lot. It actually made my client base wider. That made my client base wider.
That's great to hear.
Gave me the concept in my head that you have a wider reach than you thought you had, which I never. I had a wide reach, but it was even wider than I thought, and that's when I realized that, and it made it possible. If technology,
right. That's great to hear. I knew that you are going to share this. That's how we met. And how do you promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace as a leader?
I don't force it. I don't believe at all that you can force diversity. Actually, I work a lot. I force. Now I don't force, but I'm a lot for segregation and for integration. Sorry, I didn't really for integration, not for segregation. So I never force something. I will slowly work with it. I don't believe on stepping on over someone else because of a policy. I remember I sat in a meeting once, many, many years ago, and they were discussing salaries. And there was a mention made of this person. And they said, no, we need to increase this person's salary because he or she might leave. And the next person, which I knew was a better worker, much more loyal, and they discussed that person, and they said, but we don't have to increase him or her salary because that person won't leave. I remember, and I found it so upsetting, and it stuck with me. So for me, it's a process of integration. It's a process of teaching respect. If we respect each other and we learn to work with each other, we don't have to force issues. I will not force it. I will use the best person. I will for the position, because I don't think we will breed or we will create a society where people have respect for each other, whether male or female or whatever diversity, if we don't teach them respect. So for me, it's training, it's teaching how to be tolerant, it's teaching how to understand each other. You know what, it's teaching, if I talk from a South African perspective, some people get up 3 o'clock in the morning to be at their jobs at 8 o'clock. And then they have to go home, and then they get home at 9 and they have to help the kids with homework. I have to understand, not understand it, but have empathy for that. That is how we should just have empathy for each other. We don't know what journey another person is on. And that is how we slowly can diversify without having a rigid rule and saying, this is how we do it. Listen, I like it in law. I like to be rigid, but I know certain instances you can't. And in this, for me, to have a rigid policy on that is not the way to do it. I would do it through training and workshops and interaction. And what I found also works, and it's very funny, if you put people in positions where does not work. It's not team building. It's not work. It's just a talk. It's just like visiting type. But then you realize, oh, okay, you know, there's no real difference, and they will not be threatened. Suddenly, this man will not be threatened if there's a man, or this man, if there's a woman that's his boss, or if there's too many from one culture that needs conversation. We need to talk about it for some, you know, without being nasty, without getting into fights, listening with empathy and hearing without preparing your answer, and then thinking and then answering and not getting mad.
And before closing, what would you like to advise entrepreneurs who are dreaming to be successful in the global market?
It's hard work. It's going to sound very negative, but I'll end it up with a positive note. It's hard work. It's harder than you think. If you're like me, it's going to be a lot of nights when you're going to fall on your bed on your stomach and burst out in tears and say, why did I do this? Why did I not follow the other route? But if it's your passion, if it's that one thing that you will get up to do every day without anyone paying you, do it, because persistence is the only way that you're going to get there. And when you get there, what's going to be funny is how you define your success, because our definition of success changes as we develop and as we grow in our business. So yes, I'm still on the climbing process. I still need people to teach me a lot of things, but that's where I am now. And I've taken a look back and I've seen, yeah, but you know, my definition of success has changed. Your company is not going to be the same as you see it now. You know, remain versatile, make sure you can move with the times. Don't be comfortable. Don't be comfortable. And it's hard work, but it's worth it.
So thank you so much, Estelle, for joining us today and sharing us your perspective on leadership. I know how passionate you are about your work and creating a change in Africa. And as you mentioned, we all dream of changing the world when we are small. I still believe we can when we all come together. We hope this discussion today would be helpful to many aspiring future leaders to gain new perspectives and climb the success ladder and become good leaders. Ultimately, leadership is learning, growing, and helping people. As Estelle mentioned, let us love people. Thank you so much, Estelle, for joining us and for all the amazing work you have been doing. And wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Aparna. Thank you, Santosh. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. And let me tell you, we are on a huge mission. Let me conclude. So we are on a huge mission, a mission to impact the lives of 100 million entrepreneurs. We would like to invite you to join us and be part of this. I know that you are a part of this mission Impact Mission 2030. Our aim is to build a global community of great leaders from 190 plus countries by 2030. You know that I am sharing for our viewers. And dear viewers, you can mail us at contact@gcpat.us or find us on all social media as GCPAT Global. Join us as we come back with another emerging leader to inspire us and share us their perspective. Till then, this is Aparna Ji Kumar signing off. Thank you once again, Estelle, for joining us today. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Bye. Bye.